My entire life, I wanted to be somebody. I remember when I was a kid, people asked me, "Why'd you get into real estate?" And my answer has been and still is, I saw people with most people that had money were in real estate, and even if they, weren't in real estate and they had money, they bought real estate. So I'm like, I want to be in real estate because I want to make a lot of money. I want to have a yacht. I want to have mansions. I want to have, I want to be somebody. I want, I want to teach. I want to help people. And then I went down on my spiritual journey. I noticed the material things weren't making me happy, but then I got into studying everything spiritual. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of books and whatever, everything I could get my hands on. Just this vivacious appetite for knowledge, esoteric knowledge, as much as I could have. And then what happened then was I developed spiritual ego. So where I was like, I know what you need. And anyway, and I see a lot of people in that as well, which anyway, I look back at my old stuff and that's kind of why I stopped teaching for a long time. But it goes back to this thing that I've been kicking around for the last 24, 48 hours. And it's like, do you want to be someone or do you want to be nothing or a no one? And initially your ego always says, I want to be someone. Why would I want to be a nobody? Right? And it's also interesting. Let's do a little exercise real quick. I'm going to say something to you and I want you to like listen to your emotional response. You may actually get a voice in your head from your ego, but whatever comes up, pay attention to it. So instead of trying to be someone, you should be a no one. So immediately, 99% of people, I would assume, would have a reaction to that. And whatever that reaction is, like, why do I want to do that? Blah, blah, blah. Whatever that comes from, whatever that feeling is, maybe it's just a feeling of like, screw that, right? That feeling that you just felt, that is your worst enemy. That is the ego, right? And that is the cause of all your suffering, the cause of all your pain. And it's this program that's instilled into us to become something, like when I was a kid, it was a doctor or a lawyer. Like all the women wanted to marry doctors and lawyers. And, I think that's kind of changed a little bit now, but, be someone, make something of yourself, right? And it's so deeply ingrained. But the funny thing is, when you try to do that, even if you achieve it, it doesn't ever bring you fulfillment and happiness, and it actually closes your heart as you're trying to build this identity and build this personality of who you are, and just like I am. Anything that we put after the words I am is false. And the truth of who we are, which is really the journey of spirituality, is to find out the truth of who we are. I've had glimpses of that, and when you feel that, you realize how silly it would be to want to be anything else besides who you truly are. And so I have shifted, and this has happened. I mean, I look back at like a lot of my desires and fears, which come from ego, have gone away. And it's kind of scary because you're like, how do you make money? What are you going to do? And my strive to achieve and ambition. And I used to consider myself like one of the most ambitious people. And again, this is something you guys might disagree with, but ambition is the source of suffering. I mean, it's one of the primary sources of suffering. And here's the funny thing about it. Just like a lot of things in this world, we're so afraid to let go. We're so afraid to just accept and relax and be, because we don't trust. We don't trust source. We don't trust God. We don't trust the world, right? And then we have to hold on with just the tightest grip. Like our whole life, we're just like, gotta hold on to this, because man, if I turn my head for 1 second, my business will crumble, my relationship will crumble. I gotta make sure I know what they're doing. I gotta make sure, like, I gotta be in control. And it's exhausting, and it's externalization. But the funny thing is, is that when you finally summons the courage to let go of trying to be someone and just become a nobody, like all of this external energy that you were putting out comes back into you, and from within, I'll get a little metaphysical here, from within you just start to feel this beauty of who you really are. And what ends up happening is that radiance of who you really are gives you everything you were trying to get and control. So it's like one of my mentors would always say that the world is, or Earth is, a 180 degree reverse vector. Have you ever noticed that what you really, really, really want you can't get, and what you really, 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 really don't want, by the way, that's desire and fear, right? It's like coming to you for sure. So the harder we try to control, the more it becomes elusive, right? And there are people that put so much effort into, and it's just basically manipulation and control. And they are able to set up these lives within their ego thermostat to where if everything goes this way, I'm just fine. But you see something happen to these gigantic someones, and all of a sudden their whole life crumbles. You know, they file bankruptcy, and the next thing you know, they commit suicide. It's just like everything just falls apart, right? The point is that when you let go of control, there is a divine design that actually has something better for you than anything that you could have ever dreamed up yourself. And that is the crux of what I've learned in spirituality, is just to relax, surrender, and man, that is hard, right? It is hard. It is scary. You have moments when you're doing it well, and then you just get really scared. You're like, how am I going to survive? What am I going to do? But the more you can do that, the more you can allow life to flow the way that it's supposed to. And that comes from, instead of trying to be someone, be okay with being nobody. And the irony is, you end up getting exactly what you want.